Possibly our last multi-game NBA DFS slate of the year, so we got to do the work here one more time and strap in. Comparing my projection and some industry leaders out there, like our friends at Stokastic in particular, looking at their data, looking at the ownership, seeing what they think about things. We're also going to hop over to the world of Unabated, see what the best bets are for one more time here across prop bets and your pick'em sites out there. We're going to hop back to Stokastic, see their DFS sim lineups, which ones have the highest ROI according to their data with no involvement from me. By the end of this video, you know all the industry must plays and my splash plays. So let's get into it, guys. Starting this one. Apologies for the late delay here. My hamstring is just killing me, and I couldn't find a way to sit comfortably without it hurting worse. So we're doing great. Feeling like it's a good week. Let's get into it here and talk about the slate. Again, two teams on the brink of elimination here. 3-1 series for both of the games going on tonight with Knicks, Boston, and with Minnesota, Golden State. Golden State trying to survive to give it one more shot at Steph Curry playing this weekend. Knicks just trying to wipe out Boston after Jason Tatum, a catastrophic Achilles injury, already had surgery on it. He's done for probably a year, maybe even more than that. We'll see how that goes. But right now, though, the results as a slate here doesn't look a lot like the playoff slates we've had so far because you have Boston guys slightly priced up of the situation without Tatum. You have really overall here a couple teams that are not fully priced overall for the situations that they're in today, including the Warriors, still a bit underpriced for not having Steph because they really didn't show out last game without Steph either. So it's where we have to kind of face things down today. We'll talk about it more as we get into it. Let's look at the projections here, starting with our highest projected guy in the slate, which needs to be resorted here. Thought I did this part before the show, but maybe not. Highest projected guy in the slate is, for me, Anthony Edwards. There we go. Anthony Edwards, 47.4 projection, 48.7 for Stokastic. As a result, they're getting him a little bit more with having that fantasy point and a half projection higher. 42% ownership for Stokastic today for Anthony Edwards in their projection set. I'm giving him 21% of my lineups. Has been the case all series, basically. I've been getting more Randall than Edwards. Randall's price tag, though, continues to creep up, though. Oddly, he had the better game than Karl-Anthony Towns last time out, had more ownership as well. Despite that, he's priced lower than Karl-Anthony Towns, so kind of odd to see that. Maybe it's the positionality of power forward versus center. But as it is right now for Anthony Edwards, obvious play here. Overall in the series, I guess overall in the playoffs so far, he's put up 1.25 fantasy points a minute on 30% usage, 24% assist rate. Rates down a little bit from where they were in the regular season, but that's to be expected. Given that we're in the playoffs, it makes up for it by the fact that he's playing more minutes than he did the entire year. Basically, 40-minute projection for him, $9,400 salary. He's certainly in play. Feels a little bit chalky to me, but obviously an elimination game here. Again, it was a couple of games ago where Anthony Edwards was the one, hopefully, talking to the was reportedly talking to the other team. They're talking to the Warriors and saying, like, you guys are just trying to hold on until Wardell gets back in. He's acutely aware of the fact they want to get to game 6 in the hopes that Steph Curry can return. As a result, Minnesota probably more inclined to try to close out the series than they would be normally. I'm sure would love to close it out anyway, but obviously more motivated to close it out here because the series could actually change a little bit. Even though Steph hasn't been that good in the series, getting him back in, a little more motivation for them. It's certainly something that could make things a little more uncomfortable for Minnesota in that kind of situation, especially with game 6 being back in Golden State as well. Jaylen Brown. So he's the big leaper here. He's the guy in the thumbnail as well, which is why I'm so shocked on the thumbnail. Basically, he's priced up a little bit for life without Jason Tatum. That said, in the playoffs so far without Tatum on the court, not the biggest sample size, but 190 possessions. He's had about a 32% usage rate, 20% assist rate, 1.1 fantasy points per minute, the best performance of all the Celtics with Tatum off the court. The issue here is that there hasn't been a big enough sample size in the playoffs of Tatum off the court. If you go to the regular season, a few guys probably outperformed where they would be in the playoffs with Tatum gone because of just how the regular season goes versus the playoffs where like Peyton Pritchard picked up a lot of usage in the regular season when Tatum didn't play. Porzingis picked up a lot of usage. He's barely functional out there right now. It's hard to know what to expect, besides the fact that Jaylen Brown's going to take a lot of possessions away. So Jaylen Brown, Derek White, I think would be your two most obvious higher usage players to expect. But Derek White, only 17% usage so far in the playoffs when Tatum's been off the court compared to 32% again for Jaylen Brown. So Brown's your expected big beneficiary here if Boston wins, and they are expected to. Not that that's mattered so much so far in the playoffs with teams like Cleveland being favored yesterday and still losing. Maybe somewhat surprisingly in that one. But Boston, 4.5-point favorite at home today. That's largely because of Jaylen Brown coming off of his back. And if he were to fail and the Boston were to still win by 5 points and change, it's probably because Derek White played well. I would guess Horford probably played okay. Maybe Porzingis got back on track, though he's not really playing enough minutes to trust at mid-20s. Peyton Pritchard off the bench could certainly score some more. But I think for Jaylen Brown, who's the most obvious player here, if the Celtics perform up to standards here, up to their implied total, it's probably because Jaylen Brown had a decent day. So I'm going to get 67% of my lineups. Fields at 58. Jaylen Brown will be one of my highest exposed players on the slate, which is not a surprise. Hopefully that zinger projection makes people play that MF because I'm definitely not. There you go. And last night, solo shipper completely faded the entire Cavs team. I think that's a viable strategy for night. No, I mean, it's always a viable strategy if you're putting in 150. If you're putting in a 20 max or a single entry, it wouldn't be the kind of thing I would do. But yeah, in a 4-game slate, you could eliminate, or a 2-game slate rather, 4-team slate, you could eliminate one team and try to get those results no matter what sport you're in. It's happened before, worked pretty well, I think, on Thanksgiving slate this year in the NFL as well. It's not something that works out every time, and you're going to eat money on that a good amount. Just play the projections. Normally what I would try to do. Like for me yesterday, what I did is I had Garland projected really well. Obviously, that didn't work out. What I do is I cap Garland's exposure, then boost Mitchell in lineups where I don't have Garland. That's my approach. As a result, I had some really live Mitchell lineups that were I think finished top 100, but were top 50 for a lot of the slate yesterday. To me, that's how you try to build lineups is you go off the projection, you then pivot off the projection to find some lineups that cover things that you have really big stands on and that cover the inverse side of that. So I don't play things that way, but you certainly can. If you have a lean, knock yourself out. Just not the way I would play, which doesn't mean it's right. Jimmy Butler, 44%, Stokastic's top 150, or Stokastic's overall ownership expectations. I got him in 31% in my top 150. Butler looks fine to me today, 45.4 projection compared to 47.3 for Stokastic, which is okay at an $8,700 salary. Just not a priority play to me, I think, relative to that projection. Getting him in 1/3 of lineups feels like enough to me anyway, so field will be a little bit higher on Jimmy Butler. Obviously, do or die game for Golden State again. Everything should flow through Jimmy Butler, but weirdly, the usage trim was not that high last game. Got to look on my add more funds version of Popcorn Machine to see the rates for Golden State last time out. But I know Butler did not score a lot in that game, and I don't think the usage was high either. Butler last game had 17% usage, which is really odd. Kuminga shot the ball a lot, 30% usage for him. But Podziemski getting shots up at 23%. Nobody really shot the ball a ton for Golden State last game, and you'd expect the offense to be flowing through Butler. It didn't last time out. I would say if there's one correction Golden State would make from game to game here, it should be that Jimmy Butler should be running the entire offense. Obviously trying to get some assists too, but Rose should be getting more shots up than he did last time out. We'll see if that happens today, but Butler right now, the projection looks okay, but the usage last game was really troublesome. Karl-Anthony Towns, same situation as last time out. He ended up making the winning lineup, actually ended up being Mitchell Robinson to make it over him. So same principle here. If I get a lot of Towns, I do boost the backup a little bit in some lineups, or Brunson as well in lineups where I'm not playing Towns. That said for Towns, 8K salary here. What are you chewing on? Please stop. 8K salary here for Towns. Basically looks like a little bit too cheap to me at a 45 fantasy point projection. So Stokastic does have him at 40 flat though, 40.1 fantasy points. So I would say that for Towns, I'm in on him again. I think he played well enough last time to justify it. That said, I know a lot of you guys out there like Randall. I once again have Towns a little bit higher than Randall. I guess 5.5 points higher than Randall. So I would favor Towns again, but follow your hearts here. They're both going to be solid plays again like they were the other night. The lineups, though, maybe work a little bit better with Randall at power forward. Ownership definitely favoring Randall right now, 34%. Towns at 29%. Jalen Brunson, in spots where Towns doesn't succeed, Brunson more likely to have more usage in those games. So Brunson in play. We saw Brunson have the outlier day. Towns let a fine one, but Towns probably has a higher ceiling in spots where Brunson doesn't go for 60 fantasy points, based on the way that looks. Brunson, $8,900 salary, price tag coming up here. 32% of the field will be there, and I got him at 24% of my top 150. Derek White, another guy benefiting from Jason Tatum being out. He hasn't really shown a lot in the playoffs so far with Tatum off the court. It was better in the regular season. Only 0.9 fantasy points per minute so far in the playoffs for Derek White with Tatum off the court. I'd expect that to be better here. It's also, frankly, possible that Boston's just not very good. So, I mean, we'll see how that goes here. They have really blown this Knicks series with Tatum in. Wouldn't be surprising to see them blow it with Tatum out. That's it for Brunson here. Steep price tag for him. Third of the field being there. I have a quarter of it. I think that's fine. Derek White, again, good play here. Sorry, I was reading the chat about Brunson. That's why Brunson came back to mind. Derek White, though, frankly, not cheap at his price tag. He's being priced where he was in the regular season. Towards the tail end of the regular season, when the Celtics were sometimes missing games because they were mostly locked into their seed, they didn't have to try that hard. If guys were banged up, they weren't going. Derek White was like an 8K guy on the regular just to cover that upside. Today, I had that projection looking good because he's getting mostly his regular season rates because his playoff rates have all been lower for the most part. But Derek White is 7,700 is actually a pretty steep price tag. So I will highlight that. If I had to choose between Jaylen Brown at 8,200 or Derek White at 7,700, I would certainly favor Jaylen Brown. But you are getting about 20% more ownership going Jaylen Brown's way. So you're kind of getting taxed for that accordingly. But I am getting right now 63% of lineups. So basically even where I have Jaylen Brown and a little bit less than where I have Towns. Randall, kind of talked about him already here, and he's been good all series for the most part here with Minnesota, averaging 1.1 fantasy points per minute, higher usage, higher assist rate than he had all regular season for himself. Price tag is up enough. He's had triple doubles in the series. Last time got there with an outpouring of actual real life points. I still think it's a little bit flimsy how he's been getting there. The triple double to me doesn't really seem like it should hit that often based upon his rates. Hit 30 points game really also doesn't feel like it should happen that much based upon his rates. But Randall's still very much in play here at 7,900. Again, I would favor Towns, but Randall's higher owned. Field will be there more, so follow your heart accordingly. Josh Hart, your regular season minutes winner for the NBA based on the award. It seems like he got on social media. Josh Hart playing big minutes, has not been playing as well as Bridges in this series in general. Still, though, Hart to me, I think the guy that projects the best based on how these two look the entire year long. Hart to me, 30.7% of lineups, feels at 30.5% according to Stokastic. With the field on Josh Hart, he looks good. Al Horford, I'm getting 2x the field on, gets a rate boost from no Tatum out there. His usage has been up in the playoffs as well when Tatum's not on the court, getting closer to 15% usage as opposed to 13% that he normally has. Horford, not a great play overall, though, with Tatum off the court with only 0.76 fantasy points per minute. Also, a really awful 45% true shooting with Tatum off the court. That'll probably get a little bit better if he gets some court time, or as long as the Celtics are alive in the playoffs, I guess. We'll see what he can do with Tatum gone. But Horford at 5,600 to me, I think one of those guys we talked about on every slate. That 5K price range looks pretty good. Yesterday, we had Christian Brown being one of those guys we talked about in advance. Aaron Gordon has been in play a bunch at Denver at that same price tag. Horford, this price tag looks pretty good to me at 5,600. And again, 2x the field for me is to stand right now. Draymond Green, 59% for me, 40% for the field. Getting a rate boost again because of no Steph Curry in, getting more opportunity for himself. Playing a lot of minutes overall, including some at the 5. It's only averaged 0.7 fantasy points per minute so far in the playoffs, so Draymond's not been a great performer overall. The 34 minutes, do or die spot for them. Really, it all aligns for Draymond doing the best he can, unless he gets himself ejected or some shit, which is always a possibility. So being too much above the field's 40% feels like a risky move, but I'll take 60% and feel okay about that. Definitely wouldn't be shocking, though, if the Warriors are running bad, if they look as kind of mediocre as they did last time out, and Butler's not shooting, Draymond doing something stupid. Like, it's not something you want to project, but like you know Draymond enough at this point. I don't know. That's my risk if he were really chalky. Porzingis at 5K looks pretty good with a 30.5 projection me, 29.8 for Stokastic. Minutes are not great. He definitely has not been the same player lately. In the playoffs, with Tatum off the court, he's only averaged 1 fantasy point per minute, which is definitely down where he was in the regular season, but still 22% usage. He'll get shots up. They need somebody to take those kind of big man shots that Tatum would have for himself, really the spread out threes in particular. So Porzingis, I think, in play here, but I certainly get guys like Jake not wanting to go there because he's been awful really all playoffs long. We're to sort by value here. We'll take the game-by-game look. They'll hop over to Unabated and Stokastic to complete the journey here. Let's find all the must-plays. We'll sort by value right now and start with Porzingis. Before we do this, guys, please show some love if you can. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Today's one of the days, quite frankly, I just didn't want to do a video. I'm doing it anyway because I make my promise here to fulfill my content commitment to you guys. As I said, when we started with Unabated the regular season, I would see this throughout the playoffs. I'm doing that right now because I'm still gambling on the sport here. But frankly, my hamstring's killing me. It sucks. It's really like stuff's stupid. Like you have these little injuries and it's like affects me as a streamer. Like I'm a finely tuned athlete. But really, hopefully the last 2 game slate of the year, we can make it count today. So, I mean, hopefully not the last 2 game of the slate of the year, but very good likelihood it will be. One of the teams gets eliminated tonight, you would have to think. But Porzingis here, your top value for this last 2 game here. And again, subscribe, hit the like button, whatever. As my leg is in searing pain. Gary Payton, 62% sim ownership in my top 150. Fields at 19, so 3x the field on Gary Payton. Let's look at Golden State's rotation from last game, try to get a read on that. All right, so Peyton last game, 16 minutes here, was definitely a little bit lower than previous times. He came in initially for Buddy Hields, like we talked about here. He's going to mostly play Hield minutes that are left behind. But then what happened was the thing that I actually warned about last game. Pajemski came out for Peyton as well. Then Peyton got subbed for Pajemski. They wanted to play Pajemski and Hield together more. Again, same thing here. Peyton playing directly behind Hield. In this spot, he played alongside Kuminga, Hield, Pajemski, and Draymond. So he was the sub for Butler. Basically, he got squeezed because Pajemski and Hield, I guess in Kerr's mind, were playing well enough here. It is a squeezing group here for Golden State because you have only so many closing spots. That's the main thing you should always keep in mind. For NBA DFS, you're trying to get to the guys. You're going to close the slate. It's almost as important as the guys who start. Because you have Kuminga getting in regular rotational minutes as well. He played 30 last game. They also have Trace Jackson-Davis, didn't really play these scrub stints as much as he did the last time out, where he played the first half, the second half, didn't play the second quarter. They actually gave him real minutes this game. You're getting squeezed here between Podziemski, Hield, and Kuminga. It does seem like the minutes last game with 33 for Podziemski, 35 for Hield, not including this little blowout chopped off run of about 5 minutes. Gary Payton really didn't play very much. So if you're playing Payton, I would probably bump down Podziemski, bump down Hield. Would assume those guys get less minutes, would not play them in the same lineup because at this point, Payton, to me, the 23 minutes feels like an aggressive projection. But he's one of the very few guys in the slate that's 3,300. Kason Wallace, I think, almost could have won the slate yesterday. Actually, he might have been the winning lineup, I forget. But sometimes the cheap guy helps out enough to make a lineup work that you can play him. So Payton in 62% of my lineups feels really aggressive given that minute squeeze that we just talked about. But that said, for Payton, getting him a lot right now at 3x the field because there's nobody else at 3,300 is really in play. Draymond, we talked about. Jaylen Brown, we talked about these guys' top values despite being more expensive. Jaylen Brown and Karl-Anthony Towns in particular. Horford's still a top value. Derek White a top value at 7,700. Kuminga, again, played 30 minutes last game. Hit a bunch of shots in that one as well. He's certainly running hot right now. I think people will play Kuminga at a good amount. Fields only project for 29%. I'm getting 31. Wouldn't shock me to see that be a little bit higher because of the fact that Kuminga has the good box score games for multiple games in a row now. He's really been the only Warrior that's actually competing game to game here down the home stretch, getting shots up, playing aggressively well. Eye test looks good for him. So for Kuminga, I think he's a good play again. Feels a little bit lightly owned, but 5,500 is a lot to ask for a guy whose minutes certainly could still be at risk. And there is a world, too, where you could see Gary Payton playing. They need more defense. Gary Payton playing with Hield, Podziemski, Butler. That's something that can happen as well. Kuminga, they only have out there when they need to get somebody up with some more usage. Peyton Pritchard, we talked about a little bit before, 41% ownership for me right now. Fields is 25. It was much better in the regular season than he was in the playoffs without Jason Tatum. But that said, the opportunity is higher for him. He's only averaged 0.75 fantasy points a minute, also a 2% assist rate in court time without Tatum this year. And that's almost 200 possessions. So it's actually been a lot of time Peyton Pritchard has had so far in the playoffs without Tatum. He's just not doing shit out there. So that's sort of the tough part of it. They need more scoring, though. So Peyton Pritchard in play today, but I don't love being crazily above the field here. 41% compared to 25. A little bit of an aggressive stand on Peyton Pritchard. Jimmy Butler, we talked about. Josh Hart, we talked about. These are your top value guys. Really the only true quote-unquote value is Gary Payton. And as we talked about, minutes definitely speculative there, specious there. Some concerns about the minutes overall. We're going to go game by game here, guys, real fast. We'll hop to Unabated, we'll hop to Stokastic. So New York, 101.5 implied points. Boston, 106 implied points. 4.5 point dog on the road is in New York. Really, the big player I'm getting here is Karl-Anthony Towns. Not a surprise if you watch these videos all year, let alone the playoffs. Towns, I think, has played well enough in the series. Certainly has some cold streaks on the court, has some hot streaks in the court, which I think is a tough part when you are kind of watching him and checking your scores throughout the night. But that said, for Towns, I think he's a good play again at 8K. Price tag's up, but he was at $1,10,000 in the regular season. Biggest issue here is that Brunson's getting more usage overall. He's still at about, he's now at 33% usage for the playoffs. For comparison's sake, Karl-Anthony Towns at 23. In the regular season, Brunson was like high 20s. Karl-Anthony Towns, high 20s as well. So they've flipped a good amount there. Brunson's funneling the ball to himself a lot more. And frankly, Bridges getting usage up as well to 18%. There's reasons to have concern about Towns, I think, that are maybe not fully represented by my ownership here. But I like Towns, think he's been a good player in the series and still think he's a player. When you want to try to eliminate Boston, I think you want him out there more than Mitchell Robinson personally. But if Boston isn't hitting shots, maybe that makes him go to Mitchell Robinson more because at that point, you don't really need the scoring, you just need the defense. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, 25 to 30% owned for me. That feels fine. I'm low on Brunson, a little bit higher on Hart. Mikal Bridges, I just can't get there. His rates in the playoffs haven't been good enough. Only 0.3 fantasy points off on Stokastic's projection, though, at 27.6 compared to their 27.9. Bridges has won slates enough times in the playoffs that you could certainly be there. I don't get there naturally very easily, and I really don't force it very much either. But I feel like if you're not playing Josh Hart, maybe boost Bridges and Anunoby more. These guys, to me, seem, if you're going to be with the field's ownership, hitting 25% on Bridges, 20% or so on Anunoby, I think that's about right. Mitchell Robinson, not a chalky play today, 13% for the field, 7% for me. He is your pivot point to Towns. If Towns gets in foul trouble, Robinson can be out there. And he did win the slate last time out, so keep that in mind. Not that that matters, but it happened. Boston, 106 implied points. You're going to get a lot of these guys with Tatum out. We've pretty much talked about all of them. Jaylen Brown, 67% for me, 58% for the field. Derek White, 63% for me, 38% for the field. Horford, 2x with 53%. Fields at 26. Drew Holiday's the only one I'm low on here. 21% of him, 30% for the field. He's just done nothing really this year fantasy-wise. He has spiked random games. The ownership is low for me here, but he's appropriately owned for the field. So, like, if the field's going to be there 30%, I'd probably rather take a shot at Pritchard, rather take a shot at Horford. Just not a big Drew believer at this point, but he can hit just like any of them can hit because there's unlimited opportunity in front of them to Tatum out. And Porzingis here, again, not looked good on the series. Definitely some concerns about whatever illness he has going on. That's still dragging on. But for me, 63% ownership on him, 54% for the field. I think looks like it's worth a shot because they just need something to get going here. It's an elimination game. Even if he sucks, he might get shots up. Porzingis, I think you take the stab on. Golden State, big dog here, 10-point dog, 10.5-point dog now on the road at Minnesota. So expectation here is they don't see game 6 and a return to Steph Curry. That said, playing the assumption here that they're going to play big minutes and try to escape with one win here and hopefully push it to game 6 and get Steph back. Still seems like the outcome I would try to play more. That said, the field's already playing at a good amount. Butler at 44%, Kuminga at 29%, Draymond at 40%, Hield at 36%. Guys are more than appropriately owned. I'm above the field on Draymond, lower on everybody else for the most part, besides Kuminga, a little bit higher there. The Gary Payton thing, I don't feel great about either. Golden State, if I were to guess one of the two teams fully rolling over and giving up today, I would think Golden State's the one that's more likely to do it. I know Boston people are down on losing Tatum to an Achilles, but I think Missoula over there and really the coaching staff, like, I think they can galvanize themselves, pick up a win, and frankly, the Vegas total supports it. Here, the Vegas total supports this being a borderline blowout. And what I saw from Golden State the last couple games in particular, and then with Jimmy Butler not trying last game, kind of think that's the canary in the coal mine, that Butler not trying. He knows maybe they can't win. He's Jimmy Butler. He could certainly try a lot harder this game, take up every shot, go aggressively rebounding like he did sometimes during his Heat stints. It's a possibility. But I really don't want to be crazily exposed to Golden State overall. Like, being with the field on them seems like the better move because I am deeply concerned they get smoked today. And not that my hits on that have been 100% for the record. Minnesota, 106 points here and change, 106.8. Again, Anthony Edwards, pretty highly owned. I'm lower on that by about half. Julius Randle, lower on that by about half. Higher on Jaden McDaniels, which has been the case all playoffs. He's playing big starter run like Edwards and Randle, but without, the usage. That's really the big issue for him. But if Randle were to fail, if Edwards were to fail, or at least, produce less actual scoring, it could mean a good shot that Jaden McDaniels produce more in terms of his production. So that's something to keep in mind. Gobert, I'm not getting very much. Naz Reid, not getting very much. The game last time out for them, Gobert played 30. Naz Reid played 24 minutes, so a little bit of overlap in minutes, but not a whole lot there. Neither guy was great. I think they're still probably in play more than the projections look like. Still waiting for Gobert to have the kind of game he had to close out that Lakers series where really became a true big man there, getting shots at the rim really easily, rebounding at the rim, like really doing stuff that should be easy to do versus Golden State like it was versus the Lakers. But he's not doing it. They're not giving him the extra run, so I don't know why you'd expect it to happen today, but maybe it's a Minnesota closeout game thing. I'll just say it out loud in case that's part of their strategy. DiVincenzo, fields there a good amount. Conley, fields there a good amount. Really just not high in Minnesota today. Though, frankly, like with the 10-point spread favoring Minnesota, it's probably a little more logical to want Minnesota more than Golden State. The issue is that Golden State doesn't have Steph, so you're getting those guys all looking better because of Steph not being out there. That's how it looks for the game-by-game view, guys, here. We'll go to Unabated next, see what we got on there. If you're joining the channel right now, show some love, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, I show up and do the work no matter what my mood is, no matter what the vibe is. I make sure I come here prepared to do my NBA work here. Same thing for MLB today on Stokastic at 5 p.m. Check that out later today. If you want some NFL basketball content from me, you have a DraftKings stream on Stokastic's channel from yesterday. You also have one on the Splash Play Pod channel for drafters from yesterday, too. So check those out if you want some other content for me that's not NBA day slate specific. Or day of slate specific. Let's go to Unabated next. Let's see what we got on here as it loads up. Let's see what the best market data has right now, according to Unabated. And what they do is take the projections from some of the top markets out there based on their historical results and give you a new projection off of that. They also have their conditional projections that come out a little bit later as well. That's proprietary data they create with Justin Fan of the crew. But check out Unabated. It's a great betting tool. Again, professional bettors use it to tremendous success. If you invest the time in Unabated and just follow the process there where they want you to hit the moment the projections come out, they want you to hit all the bets you can 30 minutes for tip-off. If you do those two things, you'd have been up, I think, $160,000 is the final number from the regular season. So Unabated makes it really easy for you to win money using their proprietary data here and great tools, and it's really made for bettors. So that's the main thing to do if you are trying to get better at betting. Use good tools to do it. And shout out Tyler here for gifting a membership. Appreciate him as always, doing great work on the Emo Cowboy handles and on the Fantasy Sanctuary. If you are a best ball bro out there, checking out that stuff. All right, let's see what we got here. So frankly, all the best bros, I'm sure, are watching Davis Maddock right now, put together every person he knows on a stream. Just blow it out bright and early in the year. It's what we're trying to do. Kevon Looney under 3.5 points. Looks like your best bet right now for points. 9% EV on DraftKings at plus 110 odds. So really huge EV for Looney. Looney's minutes have not been the most secure. Feels like the kind of guy in the playoffs should be getting more run, but instead they've gone to Trace Jackson Davis more. Looney is basically playing, and you look at the popcorn machine real fast, Looney's basically playing every minute that Trace Jackson Davis isn't because they wanted to see him to get a big man in there. There's a short stint here where they didn't play Looney. Instead, they played Gary Payton, I guess, with Kuminga and Draymond as the 5. But for the most part here, it was an actual big on the floor the entire time last game for Golden State. So that's really your risk point, I suppose, for Kevon Looney. But he's not playing well, and they don't really seem to trust him. And it didn't work last game either. So for Kevon Looney, easy under here. It looks like the line just moved as well. Peyton Pritchard under 15.5 points, looking good on PrizePicks if you're playing a pick'em site. 2.3% EV for Peyton Pritchard under 15.5 points. Pretty aggressive market projection for Peyton Pritchard as well with 15 points here. Christian Brown. Oh, good, of course. What? Why would it? Why would it keep me logged in for the time period I actually want to use it? That's no. Just make me earn it. Make me earn it. Let's start this all over again. Load screen. Load. Love unabated tool. One thing I will say that we learned while doing probably the most important thing for most betting tools, especially for free users, the page has to load immediately. Otherwise, people browse off so fast. Wish that were the case. Wish that were the case for market betting tools. But I get it. They have to churn some data on the back end at the same time. But if you ever out there make a betting startup, keep that in mind. Really, any startup. Your landing pages should always be incredibly fast. All right, Peyton Pritchard we talked about. Drew Holiday, now the lines are gone. That were actually good. So Pritchard under 15.5 points. That's it. Kevon Looney under 3.5 points. Those are your best bets right now on PrizePicks and DraftKings, respectively. Rebounds coming up next. All right. It is amazing, though. Like, and I say the landing page thing and, like, knowing that in heart, from having built a product. It's crazy to think, like, and this is a short slate, but like how many different data points that Unabated has in here between the points bets, the rebounds bets, the assist bets, the various calculations therein. It's a lot of stuff being churned at once. So you also have to give the product some grace. But just me ruminating here. Jonathan Kuminga under 5.5 rebounds, minus 154 odds on DraftKings. It's 12.2% EV. A really big EV on Kuminga. The risk is that he plays so many minutes. The good thing for him is that he just doesn't do anything besides get shots up when he's out there right now for Golden State. So Kuminga, huge EV on under 5.5 rebounds at minus 154 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook in particular. Trace Jackson Davis over 3.5 rebounds, played a lot more last game. 2.3% EV for him over 3.5 rebounds at minus 130 odds on DraftKings. DraftKings line seemingly the softest today out of all the books. Aaron Gordon over 6.5 rebounds, minus 120 odds on DraftKings, gets you 2.2% EV. Those are the only bets you'd want to take. Kuminga's under, Trace Jackson Davis over on rebounds, and Aaron Gordon's over on rebounds coming up for the game tomorrow. And last but not least, assists. I guess not last but not least, but before we hit PRA is last but not least. Just making sure we're pulling everything in here. All right, Kuminga, another under here. Kuminga under 1.5 assists, according to the market-based data. Plus 130 odds on DraftKings gives you 6.5% EV, and it's really the only assist line you should take. You could take ones over 1% if you really are desperate to fill out a card and get that larger sample size of bets. But generally, for any sort of market-based EV, you want 2% or higher. Sim-based EV, 5% or higher. So we're not really getting enough of those here. The Kuminga under 1.5 assists one looks the best. Kuminga lines, though, really aggressive. And again, Kuminga is I think Kuminga is a better player than people realize because Golden State has jerked him around so much, but he just has evolved into a player that only gets shots up. So taking the under on rebounds and assists feels fine to me, even though the crush of minutes might be there. Kuminga under on PRAs, though, also here for it. Under 25.5 PRAs, 6.7% EV on DraftKings. Maybe just a little bit overjuiced here because people know Kuminga's getting minutes and they're taking some of the bets in other categories that aren't points. But under 25.5 points, minus 115 odds on DraftKings gives you a very high market-based 6.7% EV, according to Unabated. And Gary Payton under 10.5 PRAs, also looking good here on PrizePicks, 2.6% EV. And that's it. Nothing on FanDuel, nothing on Underdog today. They've all been priced to the gills because, as always, they don't want you to have an edge if they can avoid it. All right, that's it for here. Let's go to Stokastic next. Build some DFS lineups. Do check out Unabated, though. 20% off. Link down below. Of course, for all their monthly products. WNBA stuff will also make a killing with them. I'm very confident on that because Unabated, really, WNBA is such a shitty market overall. Like, sportsbooks pay no attention to it at all. It's really the main thing. Second part is that, like, WNBA is actually very projectable, same way in NBA. People don't make the projections as much. So really would encourage you guys to check that out on Unabated. And if you just want some DFS sim stuff, check out Stokastic as well. You can see me running the sim on the screen. 15% off, link down below for Stokastic as well. And that's every sport, NBA, MLB, PGA, NASCAR, whatever's going right now. You get it all for 15% off, the data part and the sims part. All right, let's run the simulation here. And you saw what my data overlaid in the sim looks like. Now you'll see what Stokastic's data without my involvement looks like. So hands off the wheel here. Sim Jesus, take the wheel. And again, one thing to do if you want to support the show as well, hop into the Discord, $5 to join. Somebody here got a membership today. I don't know who got it, but if you got that membership, join the Discord down below. Is links in the description. Basically, all you have to do is make sure your YouTube is synced to your Discord. You'll be added automatically when you click that link. And if you join one of the Squirt Squad or Squirt Squad VIP tiers, you can also get all my projections that I show you here on screen for yourself, updated throughout the night as well, whenever I do anything to update my own lineup. So keep that in mind here. It's all linked down below and check it out. It does support the show directly at this time of year where I'm not getting paid per stream by Unabated anymore. I'm just doing it because I promised. That's really it. I believe I promise things and I do them. Despite what idiots on Twitter are going to say about things, I always show up and do the work as best I possibly can. Let's see what the sim has for us here. Got to prep MLB after this as well. Man, too many sports. Love the NBA. When I'm down to one sport in NFL basketball, I'll feel a lot better about my brain capacity. And just the prep work that has to be done in a day. All right, your top 150 lineups right now with Stokastic data. Again, no input for me here, just their pure projections. So it's going to be very similar to what people paying for Stokastic data are going to see. Number one lineup is Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Gary Payton, Draymond Green, Kristaps Porzingis, Mike Conley, Jonathan Kuminga, and Jimmy Butler. So you're getting all legit rotational guys besides Gary Payton and to a lesser extent Mike Conley. But Conley's minutes are secure. Payton's minutes, he's going to get you at least 10, hopefully 15, 20. Maybe not so much. Jalen Brunson, Drew Holiday at number 2, OG Anunoby, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Kuminga, Draymond Green. The best thing this lineup has going for it is that all the guys are real pieces here, all starters, all in the regular rotation, if not a starter. So I like that lineup. Very well balanced here. The issue is you're not getting my boy Cat in there. You are getting Brunson, though. Not getting Ant. So, you know, if you're going to balance it out, that's the kind of the cost you pay there. Number 3, you have Jalen Brunson, Drew Holiday, Anunoby, Porzingis, Al Horford again, Buddy Hield, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler. Another well-balanced lineup. Really, everybody's regular rotational guys, so that's a positive. Number 4, Derek White, Anthony Edwards, Buddy Hield, Al Horford, Porzingis, Conley, Kuminga, and Randall. This one, you're getting your best Minnesota guys, but you are losing Brunson. You're basically fading the Knicks in this one, which I think can be fine. And really, the field won't do that a lot, so I think that could make some game theory sense. At number 5, Drew Holiday, Donte DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Al Horford, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Porzingis, Draymond. I like the Cat in this. And okay, DiVincenzo, I'm iffy on, but if you're not playing one of him or Conley, that's fine. Yeah, I think my favorite lineup is probably the balanced ones where it's all regular starters. Like this one because it has Cat in it, but I don't know. At least there's no Gary Payton in this one. That's a positive. Your highest ROI players right now, according to Stokastic's lineups. Gary Payton at number 1 with a negative 4% ROI. Negative number doesn't matter. We're worried about the directional accuracy of the sim. Draymond Green at number 2. Kuminga number 3. So 3 Golden State guys up top. Porzingis at number 4. So if you are like Jake earlier in the chat and you don't want to play Porzingis, the sim is really liking him. My data likes him as well. I think Porzingis just has to be in play for you more than he would be normally, given how poorly he's played for really a month and change now. Kevon Looney here coming up a good amount of 3,100. He feels like the Mitchell Robinson in the slate, even though Mitchell Robinson is himself on the slate. Al Horford, negative 8%. Drew Holiday, negative 10. One thing I will say, too, is like when you get a lot of a Looney, a lot of Gary Payton, what happened yesterday, we talked about on the stream, is like ended up getting a lot of Obi Toppin in my final lineups. What I did was I shaved down the top and instead boosted Pascal Siakam because my assumption, which was mostly correct, was that like Siakam is basically the one starting ahead of Toppin. Toppin comes in for non-Siakam minutes. Basically, what happened was Siakam had a good day. Obi Toppin played a few less minutes as a result, and it was also a closeout game, so Siakam probably got a few more minutes from that as well. That's the way to play the stuff. Is like you see Gary Payton come up a lot. Maybe give a boost to Hield, to Bajemski, and lineups where you're not playing Payton because Payton's coming up a good amount here for the Sims. You don't like Butler today? I mean, that's fair. Like, it's a 2-game slate. I think you're gonna not like some guys, but you still should play them some amount. You're gonna like a lot of guys. Still probably shouldn't play them as much as you want to. That's sort of what 2-game slates are. Porzingis, your highest. Wow, highest exposed guy is Porzingis for Stokastic. 79% exposure for Porzingis. That surprises me. Is their projection higher than mine? Their projection is also lower than mine. They have him 0.7 lower. So Stokastic really loving Porzingis, getting him at 79% of lineups, Fields at 55. Would certainly feel better if he picked up the start. I don't think there's a guarantee of that, but he is a better player than whoever they will start, at least, theoretically, ignoring the injury and the fact that he's been a bit of a disaster. But that's a lot of Porzingis coming up with him in almost 80% of lineups. Jaylen Brown, 68%, Fields at 59. So not a big stand on Jaylen Brown above the field, but still 9% more. Draymond Green, 57%, Fields at 40. So 17% more in the field there on Draymond. He's in a good amount of lineups. Jimmy Butler, 52%, Fields at 44. Again, you can not like Butler, but I do think if Stokastic is giving him this much, probably want to not full fade Butler. Kuminga, 47%, Fields at 29. Horford, 45%, Fields at 27. Julius Randle, 42%, Fields at 34. So pretty balanced here for the middle parts. Maybe not so much the Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, but it does make sense that 2 high usage guys from Boston would pop up more when you don't have Tatum in. That's sort of the way that projections should work and data should work. Your highest leverage guys, the ones that Stokastic wants you to get a lot more than the field. Porzingis, 23% more than the field. Peyton, 20% more than the field. Al Horford, 18% more. Draymond, 17% more. Kuminga, 17% more as well. Jaylen Brown, 9% more than the field, but you're playing him in 68% of lineups. Jimmy Butler, 8% more than the field, but he is in more than half the lineups out of Stokastic's top 150. Most negative leverage plays. Mikal Bridges is not coming up at all. So they are full fading Bridges here. 1% exposure in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Jaden McDaniels, who I do like because his name sounds like Jaden Daniels, because he's a good wing defender and he plays a lot of minutes. But negative 14% leverage for Jaden McDaniels here with only 5% exposure in Stokastic's top 150. Rudy Gobert, only 2% exposure, even though he's low owned. They're giving you barely any of him with the field at 15.5%. Pajemski, only 11% here. Fields at 22. They like Peyton a lot more, it looks like, than Pajemski. Anthony Edwards, a negative 11% exposure here. You're basically getting him at 33%, Fields at 43. So a little bit of a fade on Anthony Edwards. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, only 3%, Fields at 13. That's fine. He's barely in the rotation. And Derek White, 28% exposure, Fields at 38. So a fade on Derek White, but pro stands on Jaylen Brown and Porzingis. So if you want to tail Stokastic today, fading Derek White at his elevated price tag, playing Porzingis a little bit too cheap, playing Jaylen Brown at his elevated price tag, that's also, I would say, a little bit more fair than Derek White's. Seems like what Stokastic wants you to do. So here's your industry must plays. Gonna give you guys my splash plays for the day, or else that guy Crack will be mad at me. Show some love if you can. Again, hit the like button, subscribe. I'm just one dude here showing up and doing the work, and much like you guys, I'm a human being. Some days you probably don't want to go into the office or log in if you're working remotely. I'm the same thing here. Like if I'm injured, if I'm tired, if it's fucking rainy and dreary out, I don't want to do the work. And today's one of those days, but I still show up and do the work because that's the commitment you make to stuff when you want things to be good. So I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys watching all these videos. But show some love if you can. Hit the like button and subscribe, and join the Discord if you can, because it does support the show directly. Check out our sponsors too. It does help me keep putting on these shows, especially when the motivation is waning. 20% off Unabated. Link down below for all their betting tools, including the WNBA stuff, which I know is not the most exciting, but I'm pretty confident for you guys out there. Be one of the biggest game changers you'll have for the money you make in a year, because it's just a softer market. Like, sportsbooks don't respect women's sports. Like, they don't price them correctly. It's really the main thing here. As you see Kitty's head bopping around. Stokastic, 15% off all their Sims and DFS stuff. Link down below. Again, all the tools, MLB, PGA, NASCAR, of course, NBA as well. It's all 15% off for you, so check it out, and it does support the show directly. Half the money you pay to Stokastic comes back to me, and it's one of the biggest ways I've been keeping this going for the last year and change. And check out the Discord again, $5 down below. You guys know the deal here. If you want my projections, join one of the higher tiers, the Squirt Squad tier, the VIP tier. Check it out for yourself. Everything's updating there whenever I do a show, basically, so Monday to Friday. All right, my splash plays for the day. Unfortunately for you guys and for me as well, has to be Cat once again. Cat to me just projects too well at that salary. It's still a guy that was 10K in the regular season. That doesn't go away from my brain. And obviously the projection speaks for itself. Hopefully he has lost usage to not just Brunson, but he's still ahead of Mikal Bridges in usage, but like Bridges is shooting more. Guys are shooting more on the team now. But I think Towns can still put up an outlier day that wins you a tournament. I still believe that. So I'll be above the field on him by a good amount. Jaylen Brown is going to be super chalky. I'll be above the field on him. Draymond Green, I'll be above the field on. Porzingis, I'll be above the field on. Gary Payton, I really don't want to be a splash play because I don't love that he is the easiest value to get to and people will get there a good amount. I do think he's a play I will say is like a value. It's him and Looney are really like your only values that are going to actually matter on the slate. And besides those guys, I mean, honestly, that's probably enough for you. I would say Horford a splash play as well. Derek White, frankly, a splash play. That's my core. Porzingis, these are all the splash plays for the day. I probably mentioned them already. But that's what I'll be playing tonight. Figure out what you're going to play. If you want to fade me, follow it. I hope it goes well for you if you do. But come back when you win money and throw a super chat in because I'll have lost money if you are fading me. But gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel at Splash Play Bets. And, of course, I'll be back at 5 p.m. today on Stokastic doing the MLB Live Before Lock show. So I'm going to go hop over, start prep, and nap now as well. But I appreciate all you guys being here. Again, hit that like button, subscribe. See you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and bye-bye.